Welcome to Boardcast. Today I have Akriti Jain, who is the design lead at Squareboard and Grid Design. Welcome, Akriti.
Thanks.
It's such a pleasure to meet you as always.
Thank you, Gaurav.
So, me and Akriti have had a long journey together. I think it's been more than 5 years that she's been working with us. I met her at one of the hiring events at IIAD, where she graduated a long time ago. She started her journey with us as an intern in as a designer, and slowly and steadily she's gone through the ranks, and today she's the head of the design team at our company. So, Akriti, to start with, I think we should just start with what is design, right? What is, in your opinion, why is design important? And in the first place, why should we even care about it, right?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question these days. I mean, I think design is just everywhere. You think about your coffee machine, you think about the mobile apps that you're using, you think about your surrounding, maybe just a simple pull and push signboard on the doors, even that is a part of design. If it was not there in the right place, in the right font, text, anything, actually, if it wasn't there also, it would have created a problem. So similarly, I guess design is literally everywhere. I think that is also one of the major reasons why people are using apps, people are using things in their daily life in, uh, very nicely because UX.
Okay, got it.
If it wasn't there, I'm sure it would have been just a mess.
So speaking about UX, right?
Yeah.
I think the age-old question where everybody, especially the non-designers, really struggle is what is the difference between UI and UX, right?
Sure.
We use these terms quite interchangeably.
Yeah.
Many times when we hire people, we call them UI UX designers, where you always correct me to say it is actually UX UI designer, right? So tell me, what is the first and foremost, what is the difference? And what exactly, does UX mean? I understand the full forms of the two, right? But I don't necessarily know that what is the difference in a responsibility of a UX person versus a UI person, and are they the same? Are they different people? Should we be hiring for the same person as a specialist in both, or should we hire specialists for them separately? Give me a little bit of understanding of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of questions in one go. But okay, let me answer. So interestingly, because I graduated from a design college and everything that I learned was all design every time. So starting from the third year onwards, when we first were taught about UX and UI, it was always taught to us that UX comes first. And that is the reason why we always keep saying that the product or the designs that we are creating should be UX first or users first, because UX means user experience. Experience comes first, interface comes later. And that is also a very slight reason as to why we were taught to always call UX and UI and not UI and UX, because UX comes first.
Okay.
I think that's just a natural thing that comes from within me, and I keep correcting you and in fact everybody in the team at all times.
Yep.
Every document that I write, everywhere where I write UX UI, it's always UX UI.
Okay.
So that's one. But if I talk about the difference between the two, I think UX and UI could be take an example of, I think, anything in your daily life, maybe, for example, the pull and push door, like I mentioned in the previous example, there, if the pull and push door or signboard on the doors were there, but no matter in what font or what color, what size, that literally doesn't matter. But if it wasn't there in the first place, nobody would have even, understood exactly it has to be pulled or pushed. So just the use of those handles being there or not being there is also part of the UX.
Yeah.
And that is actually quite a famous example in the entire UX industry. I'm sure many of you must be knowing about it. But that's exactly a primary reason, why UX comes first and UX is important. Coming to UI, I think you talk about the mobile apps, websites. There are so many product companies who have mobile apps with them. If the UI was not seamless, if the UI was not intuitive, if the UI wasn't, engaging enough for the users, I think all these product companies would not have succeeded, because there wouldn't have been any downloads. If there were downloads, they would not have retained all their customers, because people come back and download those apps simply because they found it engaging, seamless, intuitive, things like that, because they were able to use it. Unlike IRCTC, of course, because it's a majboori that people have to use it for booking their trains, because apart from that, it's very difficult to find train bookings. Though these days we do have a lot of mobile applications and platforms for that, but I think that is also one of the reasons why people are shifting from IRCTC and using other platforms to book those trains and flights, etc. Right? So precisely the reason why UI is also as important as UX, but it definitely comes later.
Okay.
If a very beautiful UI, like a beautiful dribble shot, if it were there and if it were not seamless, I guess the UX not being there properly would not have let that user use that app for maybe hours. Instagram or WhatsApp in the first place has a really good UX and UI, of course, which is why I think people are keep on scrolling every day, day and night, right? I think that becomes your primary reason why you should also be sleeping in the night, because when you're not able to sleep, that's the reason you keep scrolling.
Yeah.
So I think that's the primary difference between UX and UI. Yeah.
So you've yourself done a design degree, right? Which is
Yeah.
when at least when we started working together, at least at that point of time, it was quite unheard of.
Yeah.
People doing design degrees and then taking up careers in design, because everybody that we used to work prior to working with you, they've all had BTech degrees, either just by convention or by choice, whatever the case may be. And some of them moved to design as a career. So what I would like to understand is that, did your choice of doing a design degree really influence, or do you feel that it benefited your what you do today? Like, for example, as engineers, what we study in BTech loosely correlates to what we do in industry, right? But in design, is it also true that for whatever you learned in your college days, has it formed a good foundation in terms of what you're doing today? And also, when we are hiring new people in the company, right, is that an important criteria for you, that these people should come from design backgrounds, or you don't care that much about it?
Okay, that's actually an interesting question, because I myself, being from a design college, graduated from Kingston University. I think everything that I was taught all during all my 4 years of college, which was all design, I definitely owe to it, because even though I also had that natural instinct of being a designer right from the beginning. I was always into art, culture, so many paintings right from the beginning, a lot of art competitions, etc., that I always took part of. Also, my parents, my mom, and all my other relatives also in the family, very close ones, they all also belong from the art background. So I think that is also one of the hereditary
Yeah.
thing that I was carrying with me. But having a design degree in the first place, or graduating from a design college being a necessity for you to become a UI UX designer, I don't think that's a necessity, because interestingly, even with my 6+ years of working with Squarebot, all the people that I've hired in the team previously also, I think 99% of the people who I hired were not from design colleges. Interestingly, they were all mostly into BTech and bachelors and like that.
Okay.
So everybody mostly came from a tech background. So they did have little or no knowledge of UX and UI. But like I said, that while hiring, I think I don't really necessarily look for a design student or a design college degree holder.
Okay.
But I think having a design degree in place definitely helps, because design thinking is something that doesn't come within you. I mean, that is something that cannot be taught. It just comes from you naturally. So design thinking are things like noticing very little details. I think that's something that I thankfully carry a lot with me, which is that natural instinct of visualizing details in the UI. That is something that cannot be taught, no matter how much you try, no matter how much you hammer those designers to think about those details in the UI. But if you talk about the design processes, if you talk about other things in design, like all the steps which are involved in the UX process, taking interviews, doing competition analysis, maybe creating design systems, all of these are very process-led structures, and because all these things have structures, and it involves a lot of design thinking, but it is something that can be taught. Hence, I think people who come from a BTech background, or maybe other backgrounds which are non-design backgrounds, it is easier to teach them if they have the urge to learn, of course.
Okay. So what you're saying is that the process can be taught,
Yes, the process
but the creativity cannot be taught. Is that a good summary?
comes from within.
Creativity comes from me. So basically, and as far as I've known you, I know that you're right. There's some instinct to it. When it comes to having a good design sensibility of what is right, what the details to focus on, what are the correct ratios, what are the correct color choices. I think there is some amount of instinct to it. That's been absolutely right. But is it possible that somebody can be trained on those? We know very well with our running of our design studio that the process is something which is unique. I think it changes from company to company.
Yes.
So we have our own process, and it's been doing well for us, right? We'll talk about the process in some time. So the process is something we can train on. are these instincts also trainable? Can we train people to make better choices when it comes to design? What is your take on it? Absolutely no, or is it something we can look at?
That's, I think, a tricky question because even though a lot of designers that I've worked with previously, there are people whom I tried training a lot when it comes to focusing on these little details and thinking more from a design perspective, design thinking, talking from a user's perspective. At times, business standpoint also becomes an important decision maker while working on the designs, right? But uh, I think it completely depends person to person because a few people having those natural instincts, maybe not like a creative person, but even being a non-creative person, when I try to train them, they take it up very easily and they are able to take it forward also. But then there are also people, no matter how much I try or no matter how much they try to think creatively, think from a design's perspective, I think they're not able to gain that. They might be very good with creating absolutely stunning designs, but when it comes to UX, they might fail. So it definitely varies from person to person. You can't really control how the other person can think. And that is also, by the way, a good challenge that we keep on facing every day with all our clients and projects. But yeah.
So let's just talk about the design process. What sets Grid Design Studio under your leadership? What sets us apart? What do you think we do right so as to lead to high quality interfaces at the end, right? And what is it about our design process where you feel that we are doing an exceptional job, right?
Okay, I think there is this notion that people have out there, especially with the designers, when working with designers, that people who know that there are design processes available in the internet and as knowledge for everybody, they think that it is something that has to be followed like end to end. But in reality, what happens is when clients come to us, when we work on multiple projects from various domains, and there are different set of target audiences, different set of features, products that comes with every different project that we work with. Over the years, I've realized that it is not possible for us to actually follow an entire design process right from the beginning till the end as it is in the same sequence. You know, no matter how much we try, it just gets on personalized for every project all the time. So I think just to make it more simple for me and my design team, we've just made this design process a bit shorter in such a way that looking at all the majority of the projects that we've worked with and the clients who come to us with shorter timelines and probably with lesser understanding of what exactly do they want, or maybe there are other clients also who do have a good knowledge and a good PRD document that they come to us with where they know exactly what they want in the product. In either of the cases, what we start with usually is we do a lot of discovery sessions with them. We do a lot of meetings with them. We do their UX audits if it is a redesigned case. Otherwise, if it's a project that has to be done from scratch, we try and understand what exactly do they want. We document everything in a proper document, and then we directly jump into creating user flows, information architecture if needed. Otherwise, directly wireframes. And those wireframes, I personally have always been a fan of creating paper pencil wireframes because when as designers, naturally for me, if I start designing wireframes digitally on screen, while it is easier these days with all these AI tools in place like UX Pilot, for an example that I've used recently, I just need to give them a prompt, it'll give me a wireframe. It is as easy as that. But again, AI can only do the groundwork for you. Eventually, a manual intervention is definitely required because empathy in UX is the most important thing. It's like the key that you have to think, right? And empathy, AI cannot give you. It only comes from a human mind. So AI will definitely not take your jobs, but it can do that groundwork for you.
Okay.
Right.
So, in the interest of people who are watching this podcast, as somebody who want to work with us, right? What are some of the things that you would like to maybe recommend, or what are some of the key aspects of hiring in our company, where you would like to share some insights or some advice about what do we look for when we hire people, and what does a budding designer in early stages of their careers, what should they do in order to become more lucrative for the industry at large, and also specifically for Grid Design Studio? Is there any advice or is there anything that you can offer them in terms of how to either be a better designer or be good at job search and be basically become more of an attractive candidate for design studios like ours?
For me, while I try and hire, I never just look at great portfolios, because it is always not about just great portfolios.
Okay.
It is not just about all the things that you've put into your case studies on Behance or wherever on your website, etc. But there are a lot of other skills that is by and large, very much part of you getting hired at Squareboard, because the key thing that I look for is the collaboration. At Grid Design Studio are just a bunch of designers working on the products, designs. But at large, in Squareboard, we've also been doing a lot of development of these projects that we've designed ourselves, right? So in our daily to daily basis, a lot of collaboration actually takes place between the developers, designers, QA, PM, etc. And all these conversations keep happening on a daily basis, like throughout the day. So for somebody to get hired at Squareboard, definitely has to have a good standpoint from a design perspective, has to have a firmness into themselves of taking their stands into why the design should not change just because the developers couldn't do it. Because this is a really, really common problem that we, thinking from a creative perspective, try and come up with good animations, transitions, and so many other things which are a little difficult in UI for a developer to develop it easily. But then I think while we being designers are already stepping ahead a bit and not creating just normal designs, why can't the developers do it too? Why can't they also maybe step up a bit from their comfort zones and try and put their efforts as much as they can to at least build what we've also tried, coming up with something as new. So in these cases, usually what happens is that we have to step down at times, and that is exactly what I look for in the designers in the first place while taking their interviews, that will this person be able to collaborate with all the cross-functional teams or not? Will they be able to take their stand or not? Will they be able to think from a design perspective? Will they be able to think from a user's perspective, the end users in mind, So all these things actually...
So I could sense collaboration being one
Yes.
point, very important points for you.
Very, very much.
And secondly, if I want to summarize it in one word, it's conviction, maybe, right? Conviction about your own design, being able to convince other people that what you've designed makes sense and why developers should go the extra mile in order to build that interface without making any compromises in what you build.
And of course, at Grid Design, we definitely have a very good culture. As a unity, as a team, we really gel up well. We, fortunately, everybody that I have in the team are very well-spoken. They are all very jolly in nature. We keep on sharing design knowledge with each other throughout the day. We keep talking about a lot of design stuff in the team, like just randomly sitting in our seats, but sharing that knowledge within the team and exploring different topics of design, and maybe even further non-design topics also. But if the person that we are hiring doesn't have that sort of a interactive I'd say that interactive skill within that person, then I think it becomes a little boring, or that person might actually feel a little left out in the team. So there are actually designers out there who are solo individual contributors in such a way that they don't want to interact with people. They just want to be in their solitude and work like as a lone wolf. But that is completely them. I mean, I would definitely not want somebody like that, because that limits your interaction. And while it limits your interaction with the team, it also kind of restricts you from thinking and talking to the users also, if it comes to UX in the first place. If in case they get hired for a good project at Grid or Squareboard, where they have to work on a good amount of UX, following all the UX steps, they will have to interact with a lot of people. A lot of interviews have to be done, maybe 50 plus interviews, who knows. So what happens then? If they're unable to interact, I think it's a big failure for us then.
Okay, understood.
Right?
Yeah. So communication definitely seems to be a very strong area of focus that you look at. I mean, I can see that, I can vouch for that. It's something that you've been consistently maintaining, and I think it's I think for a design role, communication skills do help. I think not only in the aspects that you mentioned, but also additional aspects where it comes to sometimes interacting with our clients, right? And just getting to understand what they really want. With poor communication skills, that communication will be flawed.
Exactly.
The idea or the concept that our end user, our end clients want, if that is not correctly and meaningfully passed on to the team, and if communication is a barrier, then no matter how well we work, I think the direction itself has been wrong, so effectively doesn't lead us anywhere, right? So
Definitely.
I get what you're trying to say.
The right team, the right consultation, the right tools, the right requirements in the first place, everything is just very much important for us to deliver a good project in the end.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. So Akriti, thank you so much for being a part of this amazing podcast. Really, such been pleasure working with you for so many years, and I really hope that goes on. And let's have such chats in future as well.
Definitely. Thank you, Gaurav, for having me. It was such a pleasure talking to you, and I hope we create more podcasts like these.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you really liked this podcast, and I hope we come up with a lot of other podcasts for you which are more design focused. And if you really liked it, please like, subscribe, and share our videos. Thank you.